Greetings, fellow YouTubers. Lindsay here. How are you doing today? Doing good? That's great to hear. I hope you're doing well. In today's video, we're going to explore the first of probably 3 videos that I'm going to eventually do about the history of the military in the Cincinnati area. Now, the history, as I understand it, the history of the military presence in the Cincinnati area goes back to a little something that we call Fort Washington. Fort Washington was originally built to protect what is historically referred to as the Sims Purchase. All right, now a man by the name of Sims purchased all the land from northward from the Ohio River between the Little Miami and the Big Miami rivers. It's a lot of territory. 15 acres of this was set aside by the federal government for federal land, and back then out west that meant a fort. Now, Fort Washington was an absolutely ginormous fort. It was 2 stories tall, and it was very well known and respected in the West. There's a lot written about Fort Washington. There's a couple of books that are in the public domain. But what I want to talk about is where it was located, because there is a historical marker. It is on, I believe, Ludlow Street downtown at the corner of East 4th Street. Now, this is right on the edge of downtown. So with just a little poking around, I did find out what the original boundaries of the federal land purchase went from Ludlow Street, which now this is completely different. Back then, Ludlow Street was a big old long thing. Now it's just a little smidgen of a forgotten street, because Cincinnati has changed, especially this section of Cincinnati changed dramatically in the 1950s when they started building all the freeways. So it went from Ludlow Street up to 4th and back around to Broadway, and that went, all of those went all the way down to the Ohio River. So we're talking about I-71, we're talking about a little chunk of the corner of Pete Rose Way, the Taylor Southgate Bridge entrance looks like it was probably part of it. Actually, it looks like U.S. Bank Arena. The entirety of U.S. Bank Arena used to be federal land. Now, there should have been a map up on the screen. I just want to make sure I mention the reference for this was a book written in 1918 by William Edwards Peters. It's on Google Books. You can look it up online. The name of it was Ohio Lands and Their Subdivision. All right. This is an old, based on the old map of Cincinnati, pre-freeway map. Now, 3rd Street, as I was saying before, 3rd Street went all the way to this called Ludlow Street, all right, and went on through, and Fort Washington was right in the middle of where 3rd Street used to be. Let's talk about what that means in terms of modern day. 3rd Street kind of dead ends at Broadway now. So the location of where the actual location of Fort Washington used to be, according to this 1918 map, was where the freeway is now. So it's not possible to really visit the site, I don't think. Possibly. Maybe you might be able to go underneath the freeway. I'm not really sure. So, in 1803, Fort Washington was replaced by a newer barracks across the river in Newport. When I have a chance, that'll be the next video I do in this series, I'm going to eventually go to the site of the Newport Barracks, which is now a park. So that's some future plans for where I'm going with this video series, but for now in this video, Fort Washington, 1789 to 1803, and then kind of as a prologue to this, what happened after they abandoned the fort it was very quickly subdivided up into streets and plots to kind of conform with the way that the downtown area had been forming, and it was just kind of auctioned off. And so that once again, the original 15 acres of federal land included quite a bit of things today that we don't think of as Fort Washington, but that entire land going from 4th Street from Broadway over to that little what's left of Ludlow Street today, all the way down over I-71 and down where U.S. Bank Arena is all the way to the river. That was originally the 15 acres set aside for the federal government and the location of Fort Washington. If you want to go and visit Fort Washington today, you can go up to the corner. There is a historical marker at the corner of Ludlow and East 4th Street. There is a building there. I believe there is a parking lot and a church. You probably get away with parking there and visiting if you wanted to. One day when the weather gets better, I will do that as well. Guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your week. Keep fighting the good fight. Hey, I'll see you in the next video.